So this might not be a popular opinion, but I'm just going to come out and say it. I spent $7,000 to get a basic studio, a basic YouTube setup. And why do I think that this is not going to be popular? Well, all the gurus say, just start with your cell phone. Just start with what you have. And yeah, for the most part, that's what I tried to do. And in this video, I'm going to get into my setup. What brought me to $7,000? Now, mind you, this is in Canadian dollars. In American dollars, it's way cheaper than this, but I'm going to break down all of my tech stack, my editing software, all of the stuff that I use for establishing or building or starting this creator business. And you might ask yourself, why would you spend $7,000 to get up and going? Well, first of all, I have ADHD. I'm also 50. So I don't have time to fuss around with tech that gets broken, have to redo videos because the lavalier mic broke. That is a true fact that has happened to me. And really, I just want something so easy. And I'm going to talk about where I started, where I went to, and now where I am, because they are three very different spaces. And I will say the setup I have today is not $7,000. So I can save you some serious, money and time trying to figure this all out if you want to do something more than just work on your cell phone. And I'm also going to point out why I moved away from said cell phone. Honestly, they started driving me a little bit crazy. I'm going to get into it, so let's jump in. And briefly who I am, I'm Helena, I'm 50, I'm almost 51. Actually, in a few weeks after filming this video, I will be 51. And I am on a mission to see if I could build a creator business to replace my 9-to-5 job, my 9-to-5 income, my career in a year or less. And I'm posting all of the details live. I am building in public to see if the average person, I am not gorgeous. I am far from skinny. I am not put together. I am a very, very average person. And I'm not young either, so I don't have the looks of a 22-year-old anymore. And I love the young people out there, the gurus, who I call them anyway. I love watching them. I really have a lot of respect for millennials and Gen Z who have figured this stuff out. And yeah, I have the dream. I do want to do this with you guys. Sorry, just had to grab a little thirst quencher. See, I batch record, so the throat gets a little dry in between takes. Anyway, where were we? So I'm in the finance industry, and one of the things of being there for the last 31, almost 32 years now, is that I've learned to look at everything I purchase. Everything that I bring into my studio, into my business, I have to look at it as an asset or liability philosophy. And what I mean by that is an asset is something that gives back to you. It is not a car because a car depreciates in value, but something like a camera that will allow you to produce income, that is more of an asset in that case. It's even more of an asset if you can kind of write it down over time, which you can. In Canada, at least. So for me, buying like a $50,000 rig like you see some of the younger gurus have, great for them. They can afford it. They have built their mogul, their businesses to be able to afford something like that. But myself, a $50,000 rig would be a complete waste of money to me. It would be a liability to me. And what I mean by that is it's gear that I probably wouldn't know how to use. It is gear that needs to be probably run by somebody else. I don't have a team, probably overkill in my little small office as well. And you can see where I'm going. Basically, you don't need the $50,000 setup. You don't even need a $5,000 setup if you're not there in the point of creating or looking at this as kind of your full-time gig. So in that sense, I do agree with the gurus in the sense of, yeah, just use your cell phone if you want to dabble in this. See, the thing is, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight here. I did have a YouTube channel. I had a food channel. I was using a cell phone to be able to record my YouTube recipes. I will say I wasted so much time redoing shots, redoing all kinds of things because of the fact that a message would interrupt, etc. while I was coming through. And like I have this on airplane mode and I just got a notification. It just proves my point. It buzzed on camera here while you're sitting here. This is the type of things that would constantly ruin shots for me. It would take something that, like a recipe that I would put together in maybe 10 minutes on its own. It would take me hours to put that together because of having to move the cell phone to take different shots, etc. Redo things because, you know, it got burnt on the stove as I was moving the camera around, etc. So it took a lot of time, a lot of fussing around. Then you throw it into editing software and things are blurry and they're not great and it's auto-focused on something else and your lav mic cut out halfway through and you're now having to record independently and try to do it as a voiceover, and there was just so much to learn and so much to do. So I decided at that time to invest in a Sony ZV-E10 here. So this was my first true filming camera. And as you see, I am not filming on it right now. I'm not using my cell phone, so I will show you what I am using in a little bit. But this was my first investment, and between this and the lens, plus the recording software like the SIM card, because you do have to, if you're doing video, you do have to buy a very expensive version of it. Otherwise, this camera overheats. You have to buy extra batteries because the Sony ZV-E10 burns through batteries, I will tell you. And then I had to invest in mics. And the first few times I tried using this with like lav mics or something attached to it, the audio disappeared or it would switch into like 120 frames per second, which basically, for anyone who doesn't know about film, about video, that is super slow-mo mode. The video was 100% ruined because the voice and the video itself was completely ruined. I couldn't recover them. So that's why I ended up looking at alternatives along the way. Now, mind you, I also bought my Sony ZV-E10 because I was also doing food photography at the time. So it did give me a crisp picture. I ended up using my Sony ZV-E10 to actually even do photography. I started focusing on mature audiences, more for plus size women, etc. Myself being an average plus size person, I never felt comfortable with photographers. And for the most part, they didn't know how to photograph a plus size woman to make them look attractive. So that was something that I got into kind of during COVID, a little bit after COVID. It really gave me my first kind of appeal into understanding photography and video a little bit better. And yes, the modern day cell phones, they have amazing pictures. They have amazing video on them. They are majority of the people good enough for them. But for myself, I did want to kind of take this. I knew the time when I started that first YouTube channel that this was something I wanted to do. I just had too much fear to try. And I will say my first camera was the Samsung Note 20. I still actually have that. Actually, hold on. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab it. There we go. Sorry. My Osmo 3. Ooh, I just gave you a hint on what I'm using now. My Osmo 3, I think, had a conniption there. Anyway, my Sony Note 20 has such a good camera that even though I bought it, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that? Yeah, 6 years ago now. It has such a good video that sometimes I actually just use this for certain things, for B-roll shots, etc. This also sits on my nightstand so that I can watch YouTube while lying in bed. Yeah, that's a guilty pleasure of mine. I know, a complete no-no, but whatever. I still love this. I actually bought the contract out when it came up because I loved the camera on it so much. I will say I switched to an Apple phone last year. I'm sorry, another unpopular position, but I'm not a fan of Apple. After working on Samsung, after working on Google phones for the last few years, switching to an Apple feels archaic. It feels behind. It's also extremely heavy. And when you're older and you've been typing all these years, or you've been outside working with your hands, etc., they feel arthritic by this age. And believe it or not, a silly thing of the weight difference of two different phones makes a big difference. So I will be switching away from Apple and this is a 16. So it is a good quality phone. It's a Pro as well, Excel, whatever, the top of line Apple that there was. I have been very, very disappointed. And I did buy it because it was the only software that was compatible with my editing software. I could run DaVinci's app. I edit with DaVinci. It was the only one that had DaVinci's app built into it, so you could switch your cell phone into a log mode. Log mode basically means that you're recording with no visual color, etc. in there. Then you can build the color in afterwards. I did initially buy it for that. Now DaVinci software is available on Samsung, I believe on Google as well, and I will be switching out of them because they are just superior phones. I'm sorry, Apple lovers. I know. You're gonna send all the hate, I know. But yeah, that is why I switched away from using cell phones. Because of the constant interruptions of notifications, even when you put it in do not disturb mode, etc. I'm sure there is a fix for it. I'm just not willing to deep dive into the phone to figure it out because I have options, that's why. What I am using now is a Pocket Osmo 3. Little tip for yourself, always clean your camera lens. Anyway, I'm gonna video myself right now, recording myself. So this is my desk setup. So hello, little kitty. Anyway, I have my equipment here. I have my video script in point form notes. I'm actually on page 2. I haven't flipped it over yet. I just read over the script earlier. And then I have, you know, other scripts, etc. And my water. There's my light. Anyway, this is my setup. I also have a rig here. And then I do my photos on this little thing that I pull down. I pop my camera into this and then I take pictures before I start recording. Because I noticed when I take off the microphone after, there is always a little spot with the DJI mic. It's like it gets hot or something and does like a iron press there or something. It never stays, but it really does put a spot on your clothes so that if you do take pictures, you have to kind of correct that spot. So I do take my photos before I start. Anyway, just going to pop this out of the shot here. But yeah, that is my kind of just rig right here. I do have a gaming rig that I work from because it's powerful. It allows me to game with my husband because yes, he is a gamer. And it allows me to do video editing. It allows me to work from it. It allows me to do everything without fussing around. And yes, I have 1,000,001 SSD drives that are attached to it as well for different storage because my kids used to use it when they were home. And I don't know if you caught it earlier, but I just built my own soundboards, which will be going up on the walls behind the rig soon. I was trying to paint them, but yeah, I'm giving up on that. That's just too much fussy for me. So the soundboards have taken some of the echo out of the room. This is a very, very tall room. So it's 9-foot ceilings above me. But then there's an alcove that is probably, I'm going to say about 12 feet, maybe 15 feet tall. So it is very echoey. I also have a huge window. So I do get a lot of street noise in this room as well. So I did have to make those soundboards to be able to absorb some of the external sounds that do come out of here. I did it super cheap. What I did was I just bought a foam queen topper. I'll pop all of this into the video so you can see it. From Amazon. I think it was like $59.99. I bought canvases from a company called Yisk here in Canada. I think IKEA might have them as well, but they were so cheap there compared to everywhere else. They were huge as well. And I just mounted the cut up foam, the mattress topper, I guess you could say, onto the canvas. And then I bought a black sheet from Amazon and I stapled it onto there. That is the extent of my very expensive soundboards. They work and they didn't cost me a fortune. Would I like the beautiful soundboards that are like art? Absolutely. Am I there that I can afford that as just a want to have? Absolutely not. So for now, these will work. I'm sure they'll be fine for years to come. Now, one of my biggest issues when it came to recording food videos was the audio. Audio became my nemesis, my personal demon, let me tell you. So I ended up trying all different things to see what would work, what would not work, etc. I could show you the basket of wasted money. That's what I'm going to call it. It's full of lavalier mics that maybe work, maybe not work, etc. Basically, what happened was I would get, whether it was Bluetooth versions of small little lav mics, or I would get the corded versions of lavalier mics. I would use whatever I possibly could in order to kind of get some kind of better sound than what was on the regular cell phones. But the problem was halfway through, you know, if one of those little wires went, your audio was shot. And I will say that audio will absolutely make or break your YouTube video. I could watch a YouTube video that's, you know, shaky, maybe a little blurry, as long as there is good sound. But if there is horrible sound, echoing, low volume, really like in and out audio, I absolutely have a horrific time with that. Even if the film is 100% crispy, because of the fact that I can't hear it, that's what turns me off. And I know, yes, I could put on closed captioning and watch the closed captions, but we know that captions don't always catch exactly what we're saying, especially if the person's audio is off. Investing in audio was a kind of deal breaker for me. I knew that I needed to do that because I was tired of the fussing around with everything and wasting time. It was fine in COVID to waste time because that's all we had was time. But when you're working 9 to 5, I don't have time to re-record videos and re-record audio and record a voiceover because this section didn't work, etc. Drove me absolutely nuts. So I invested in better audio. I'm just going to grab it. My first real investment was really not even my investment. It was my son's investment. He just actually took the mic away because I told him, I said, I don't need it in my office anymore. He got a gaming rig for Christmas, so he absolutely needed his mic back at that point. But he invested in a blue Yeti. It was a lovely, lovely mic, especially for doing voiceovers. It was really a nice sounding mic, but I needed something that was a little bit more portable. So that's where I got into the DJI. I have one here as well. This one's attached to my Pocket Osmo, but these ones are independent and they do record separately. So if I'm doing an interview with somebody, it will record directly into this, but I can also use the transmitter to attach it to a phone, to record to the video, etc. as well, or just record to an independent voice recording software. So this was my kind of bigger first investment into audio. And this one cost me, I think it was like 495 Canadian at the time that I did purchase this. So it was a lot of money for me to invest in it. I will say I didn't use them as much as I thought I would have. You know, if I knew I could buy the creator combo with the Pocket Osmo, if I knew that was coming up, 100% that's what I would have invested in first. And then I next got my Rode mic. So this here, oh, I just lost all my my light there, but my Rode mic, I don't know if you can see it here. I will pop it into the video what mic it is. This is a professional voiceover mic, but this one allows me to also do voiceover recording. Sorry, I'm just going to open my drapes so that I can get light again. So my Rode NT1 mic, it is 100% a professional voiceover mic. It also has this FocusRite, which allows me to then attach my headphones, which these are my audio headphones. They are not a regular headphone. They are really, they take out the bass out of your voice, etc. It really is for professional voiceover. Yes, I do some voiceover. So I'm just letting you know that that is another little bit of a hobby that I do. I love doing character voices, and I also just like doing commercials. There was a time I was also studying to train my voice to sing a little bit. Those are professional setups. They hook up to my laptop. I do not have my laptop up here. I was working on it earlier this morning. And then I have my little gaming headset as well. So that's where I use to game with my husband. If you're asking what I'm using, I got these little things on Amazon. They're purse holders. They're great for hanging your mics off of your table, by the way. So, and they're bedazzled as well. And they just hang off the side of your desk and you can use it to hang your mics, wires, etc. It's a great way to clean up some of the wires that are underneath as well. Myself, I use just a crate to kind of pile them all under because I'm not about, you know, zip tying them and putting them in tubing and all. Too much work for me. So yeah, and my ZV-E10 and the lens, after taxes plus all of the other stuff that I needed to get with it, after taxes, that was $2,500. My Pocket Osmo 3 is the creator bundle. So it came with this, it came with the extra battery. It also came with a stand and a few other things as well, and a little like carrying case. That was $1,100 after taxes here in Canada. It also has this little kind of sleeve for it as well. Now and it also came with the wide lens. I do not use the wide lens in here. I tried using the wide lens in this space and it made me like 4,000 pounds. So just kind of giving you the heads up. I also did invest in some ND filters for being outside. When you do record in log mode outside, it is too bright. So you need to use those types of things to take down the light. It's even recommended, even if you don't record in log mode on your Pocket Osmo, if you just use out of the box. It is totally fine to use an out of the box solution, by the way. But if you are going to record outside, highly, highly, highly recommend to get the filters because it will just take some of that real big glare out of everything. It'll make your skin look nicer too. So just saying, being this age, anything to make the skin look nicer is always a good thing. And I did buy DaVinci. I did buy the studio version of DaVinci software for editing. And after tax, that was $500. The reason I did that is that I do plan on working with a professional editor at some point to try to save me some time. Right now, I'm editing everything myself, but I will get to the point where I do need to kind of work with somebody professionally. I also came from HitFilm, which was a free software at the time. I think Artlist owns it now, but HitList was very similar to DaVinci. Unfortunately, I also pay for Premiere Pro because I have to pay for Creator Studio or whatever it is through Adobe because of the other software that I need to use. So Adobe Audition for voiceover, as well as I use it for PDFs, etc. It really burns me that I have to pay that much, I'll be honest, but I tried using Adobe. I find it very old and clunky, I'll be honest. I know, again, some of you are going to come at me in the comments, but DaVinci is so clean. I also now use CapCut. CapCut is fantastic for short form video, and because of that, I end up spending another $30 a month on the software. I am not investing in the yearly version for it because I was still in testing mode for the last few weeks. I probably will switch to an annual mode, but I'm going to wait for a sale for that. Also, to get up and going, I did invest with some miscellaneous software. So there's things like Canva. I mentioned Adobe. I also use FreshBooks to be able to record all my receipts in. I also bought a laptop. I bought a gaming laptop, even though I had this rig, because my intention was that I would want to use that to take kind of video editing on the road. I ended up giving that laptop to my husband so that he can game with me. He was using Xbox. We wanted to game on BG3. I don't know if you know it, I'll pop up the picture of it. At the time when we bought the game, you could not cross-play through Xbox and gaming, so I ended up giving him my gaming laptop, and then I bought myself another, let's call it $300 laptop that it's perfect for just doing small stuff, puttering around, creating carousels while I'm watching TV. It's perfect for that. So I will say you don't need a gaming laptop, but I can't edit on my $300 one. I can do a little bit through CapCut on the web, so I'm just letting you know if that's an option that you were looking at. And we just passed Black Friday. It's just past the holidays. So at that time, there was a ton of courses that came up for sale. I did invest, I think, in 3 courses at that time. So I invested in, there was a moment in time that I was thinking that, should I become a social media management agency? So I purchased a course on that and the templates and the literature just in case I ever need it. It was a decent price. So I really haven't done anything with that one, knowing that I may not get into the SMMA route type of thing. That being said, I also invested into a course on Instagram because it was only $97, and I really wanted to make sure that I understood Instagram as it is today, and that gave me a crash course. It kind of gave me the time going and searching for videos to try to find exactly what I needed. I was able to just buy it and purge through it. So that was well spent money, I will say. And then I also took another course on video editing, but this was from a special effects person. So it allowed me to learn a little bit more about special effects, about creating visual hooks, about being able to just kind of look at video editing, not just as a linear thing, but as a multi-dimensional thing. That course was a little bit more expensive. I think in total, I spent about $500 on courses. And then with that video editing one, there's a small community that goes with it. That's next to nothing. It's like $11 per month, normally like $77 a month or something like that. So, you know, I got in because of the Black Friday sale. So I just stayed in it for $11. I'll be honest, I'm not in that community much at all. I still haven't finished that video editing course either. It's a matter of sitting down and finding the time to go through it. The guy's amazing. I just don't have time to get through everything. And then, yeah, things like storage. So this is an SSD. So an SSD is a little bit faster than just a storage unit. This is like an external hard drive. So this was $200 for 1 terabyte. And storage is very, very important when you're getting into content creation. You want everything into one spot, so it's not bogging up your computer system. And that's what's important to me. I want my gaming rig running really well. So if I'm putting, you know, something that's 25 gigs onto a computer, that's going to take up a ton of space. Whereas I can fill up an SSD and then just buy another one and have that as, you know, kind of backup if I ever need it. I always try to convince myself I'm going to go back and reuse videos and so on and so forth. I haven't really yet. I know that I should from a B-roll standpoint. So I know that I spent a lot of money to get this up and going, to get this dream going. But I want you to kind of look at it this way. If you were opening a coffee shop, would you hesitate in spending $10,000 on a really good espresso machine? No, you wouldn't. So I'm looking at this all as an investment in my future, an investment into my business. I'm fortunate that I do have the money that I can buy it. I don't want to downplay the fact that I am extremely grateful and I acknowledge that I can afford this. Not everyone can. So that's why I don't want to poo-poo the cell phone version. I mean, even I'll admit, I watch a channel that I can tell she's used a front-facing camera that's probably really old. It comes out at 360 on YouTube. Sorry, 360p, I think it is, or whatever it is. Whereas most videos are 1080. I record in 4K. I'm just saying you don't have to buy this extent of stuff when you start, but I will say it does make it easier. It really, really does. And I want to acknowledge the fact that you can have all this fancy gear. Absolutely, you can have it. But if you have nobody watching, then what's it worth to you? It's worth nothing, really. And I know that this is a gamble to try to build within 1 year. And I want to say that there is a lot of mental gymnastics and fears and thoughts that you have to go through in order to get to the point where you do press record. I want to acknowledge that it is scary. So in my next video, I'm going to introduce what it took for me to get here mentally. I want to talk about mindset. I want to talk about the genuine fears of starting a YouTube channel, especially when you are 50 years old and you're average and you're not what's considered Hollywood aesthetic, trad wife aesthetic, etc. If you're not an aesthetic person, what does it take to say, up here, I am going to do this no matter what? So I hope you join me in that video. If you did appreciate what I talked about here, I hope you like, subscribe, follow along, and I want to say thank you for getting to the end of the video. I'll see you in the next one.